In this video, we'll talk about loops in Python. So in Python, there are two loops. First one is while loop and the second one is for loop. In this particular video, we'll talk about a while loop only, and in the next video, I'll explain about for loop. So while loop. So before understanding while loop, you must know what is a loop. Okay. In any programming language, a loop is used to repeat, a set of statements or a part of code to repeat it. Okay, what do I mean? Let's say I have a print statement and in it I have hello, my name is Gurmeet Singh. Okay, now I want to execute this particular print statement, let's say 5 times. Okay, how can I do that? One way is I can simply copy it 5 times, okay, and then run it. Okay, so you can see this particular print statement is now executed 5 times, right? But I do not want to repeat these print statements in the code 5 times. Rather, I want to find an alternative way using which I can do the same task but with little code. So in that particular case, we can use the concept of loops. Okay, so it is always better to understand everything with the help of an example. So let me show you the same thing with the help of an example. So I will just write the print statement once, but it will print for 5 times. Okay, so I can use while loop in that case, while, and then while statement. After writing while statement, we have to specify a boolean value, either true or false. Okay, so the while loop repeats the code inside it, inside its block, unless or until the condition is true. As soon as the condition becomes false, the while loop stops repeating the statements or executing the code, whatever it is written inside its block. Okay, so it might seem a little bit confusing for you if you are a newbie, but you will gradually understand it. Okay, so let me just write while true, and then similar to if else, I have just used indentation to create a block. Okay, so just pressing the tab key. Otherwise, if you're using some advanced code editor like VS Code, it will automatically do the indentation for you. Here I'm writing the same print statement, that is hello, my name is Gurmeet Singh. Okay, now see, the condition is true. Okay, now see what happens. So you see, it keeps on printing. It is not stopping. The output of the program is not yet stopped. It keeps on printing. It keeps on printing. It keeps on printing because the condition is true. Whatever inside the block of while is, it will keep on executing. I have to write some logic so that this condition becomes somehow false after this print statement has been printed for 5 times. So here, let me just create a variable count equals to 1. Okay, so I assign this variable a value count equals to 1. Now here what I'm doing, every time this block is executing, I am incrementing the value of count by 1. Okay, so how? Count, I can write like this, count equals to count plus 1, or as I have already told you in the assignment operators video, there is a assignment operator plus equals to 1. So what it does, it will simply do this. It will do count is equal to count plus 1. So with every loop execution or every block execution, it will increase the value of count by 1. Now I'm using logic here. While the value of count is less than or equal to 5. Okay, so what I'm writing is, while the value of count is less than or equal to 5, this loop will continue, because until this thing is true, this while loop will keep on executing whatever inside it. Okay, so let me run this program. So you see, now this particular print statement executes 5 times. So now I have just added a print statement here to show you the value of count being incremented. Okay, so I'm just running this program. So you can see, first the value of count is 1, then it prints the statement, and then the value of count is incremented by 1. So now, so this goes on like this. Okay, first it executes this and then it's go back again to the condition. So to help you better understand the flow of this while loop, here on the screen I am showing you an illustration. So here, as you can see in the image, A is the condition and B is the block of code, or you can say the part of the code that you want to execute in each iteration. So you see, while A equals to true, it executes B, and as soon as the condition becomes false, it will shift the control to other part of the code which is outside of the iteration block. So first the control comes to A, and it while checks the condition that if A is true or not. If A is true, then it executes B, and then it goes back to check the condition A again, and again if it is true it will execute B, and it will go on like this. Okay, and whenever the condition will become false, the control will come out of the loop. When you are using while loop or for loop, even it is valid for both, there is a statement break. Let's see how it helps us. So here what can I do is, instead of writing condition directly here, I can write true here. Okay, but I want to serve the same purpose. I just want to print this 5 times. Okay, so what can I do? I can break the loop using the break statement according to a particular condition or logic. So what I'm doing is, here at the first line, if I say if count is greater than 5, so here I am specifying it using the if else statement. Okay, if the count is greater than 5, then break this loop. That's it. So it will check every time when the control comes inside the block, it will check if the count is greater than 5, and if the count will be greater than 5, it will break. Okay, so let me just print this count here at the top instead. So let me run this. So you see it only executes 5 times, but the count is now 6. So it comes to here. Okay, it come here to this and executes the print statement, but as soon as it encounters this if statement, it says count is greater than 5, then it has to break. The while loop will stop executing, and the other things here will not execute. Okay, so this is the idea of the usage of break statement in while loop. Okay, now there is one more statement known as continue statement, or continue keyword you can say. It also has its own purpose. So to help you better understand the concept of continue statement, I'll take the help of another example. So let's say I am writing a print statement here. Okay, print, and then here I say the count is, then the value of the count. Okay, so here I'm using the F string notation. So here I'm typing F. Okay, and the count is, then here I'm printing this variable count. Okay, this variable count, and again for every every iteration of the loop. So every time the control comes to the block and then goes back to while to check the condition for the second time, and then for the third time, and as long as the loop continues, one complete execution of the block is known as iteration. Okay, so here I am incrementing the value of count by 1 using the assignment operator plus equal to, and now this will keep on executing infinitely, right? Because the condition is always true, as I have specified it in the in front of while. So it will be an infinite loop. What do we mean by infinite loop? That simply continues forever. Okay, so to avoid it being infinitely executing, what we do, we have to make this condition false according to our logic. So there is there are multiple ways to do it. Let's use a break statement only here. So if, let's say, if count is greater than or equal to, let's say, 25, so this loop should break. Okay, this loop should break. Okay, let's run it. So now you see in the output it executes like this. The count is 1 2 3 4 5 6 and up to 24. Okay, so it executes like this. Now I want to make use of the continue statement. Okay, so now what I want to do, as soon as this loop passes through a even number, that is like 2, 4, 6, I want to execute some other code as well. Okay, like here is a print statement, that's an even number. Okay, so you see, every time it runs this, the count is 1, that's an even number, the count is 2, that's an even number, although 1 is not an even number, 3 is not an even number. So I want to execute this print statement only if that count is an even number. There are multiple ways to do it. First of all, I can use a if statement. If count modulus 2, so we can use modulus, and we can see if the remainder is 0, that means the the number is even. So then only I execute it. Okay, let me show you that. So you see, now that's an even number only executes when the count is 2. So here I am incrementing the count. So you see, count is 1. So even in the first iteration, count is incremented here, right here. Okay, so here I am writing if the count is 2, that's an even number, and then the print is the count is 2. Okay, now I want to execute this one using continue statement. So if here I can write like this, here I can write again. What can I do is, here I write the print statement, and then here I define that if the count, and then again percentage, the count modulus 2 is not equal to 0. Okay, if it is not equal to 0, that means it is not an even number, then the loop should continue. Okay, the loop should continue. That means it should not execute this particular code, or the code thereafter in that particular block of the iteration. It should continue to check the condition again and move on to the next iteration. So you see, the output is similar. That's an even number, that's an even number, that's an even number, ahead of a even number. So this particular print statement will not be executed whenever the value of count is not an even value, because in that case the continue statement just move the control or flow to check the next condition, or you can say to the next iteration. So this is the purpose of continue statement. Again, this might be confusing, so you can try yourself, as long as you will not try this thing yourself, with the help of a number of examples, it will be difficult for you to actually understand the concept. So I highly recommend you to have your hands on this while loop concept, break and continue concept. So again, for the sake of better clarification, I am drawing an illustration on the screen that will help you to better understand the concept. So here, as you can see, whenever the control comes to the while loop condition, it checks the condition, and if the condition is true, the control goes over to the code block, and if the condition is false, the control goes over to the next code which is after the while loop. So this is what we have already studied. So now coming to the break and continue statement. So you see, we use the break and continue statement within the code block. So as soon as the break statement is encountered by the compiler, the control shifts out of the entire while loop, and the control, or you can say the flow, goes to the next code which is completely after the loop or out of the control of the while loop. But oppositely, whenever the compiler encounter continue statement, the control goes back to the while loop to check the condition for the next iteration. Okay, similarly this thing happens when we don't use continue or break. The control simply goes out to check the condition. Control goes out to the next iteration condition check. Okay, as soon as the compiler encounters the continue statement, it will not further execute the code in the present iteration block. Okay, but if no continue statement is used, it will first execute the entire iteration block. Okay, but in case of continue statement, it will not execute the entire block. As soon as it encounters the continue statement, it stops executing that particular block code and shifts the control to while loop to check the condition for the next iteration. I hope it gives you a good idea. You can pause this video to just look at this figure for a few seconds to help you understand better the concept of break and continue statement in while loop. The concept remains the same for loop, and it will really help you to write good programming logics.